In the past, it was a staple of kidnappings for the hostage to hold up a newspaper to prove that they were still alive. The problem with me is that I started reading the newspapers I was holding up, although I'm still, as you can judge by our social media overlords, in captivity. Nevertheless, I'll try my best to get what news I can out to you given the constraints. First up, stories on the domestic news front that I'm tracking. Your briefing begins with the headline, Death of Shipping CEO Angela Chao under criminal investigation, Texas Sheriff says. The death earlier this month of Foremost Group CEO Angela Chao, the sister-in-law of Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, is currently under criminal investigation, the Texas Sheriff's Office said Thursday. Chao, 50, was found dead shortly after midnight on February 11th after being pulled out of a car that had gone into a pond on a private ranch in Johnson City, Texas, about 40 miles from Austin. This incident was not a typical accident, the Blanco County Sheriff's Office wrote in a letter to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton on Thursday. To understand how the mafia tactics of politics work, it's important to remember how, just as in the mafia, family is an important thing. And McConnell married into quite a family. His in-laws, the Chows, are oligarchs with ties to the Chinese Communist Party, as author Peter Schweitzer talked about back in 2018. Mitch McConnell is the power broker of the U.S. Senate, but he's also the guy whose in-laws own a major shipping company that buys container ships from a Chinese government company. The in-laws make money from carrying goods back and forward and deals with Chinese state-owned companies. McConnell's wife is a Chinese American and also happens to be the transportation secretary of the U.S. government. Since Elaine Chao took up that job 4 years ago, her father's company has expanded rapidly and has added 40% more ships. Her father, James Chow, was a shipping magnate that gave his daughter and her husband, McConnell, a gift of at least $5 million in 2008. That's the conservative estimate. It might have been worth as much as $25 million. Nice in-laws if you can get them. The largesse was legally disclosed. The net worth of the political couple went from $3 million in 2004 to something between $9 and $36 million by 2018. Amazingly, just days after Trump becomes president, the Chinese Communist Party puts Elaine Chao's sister on the board of one of the biggest banks in the world, and McConnell immediately flips on Trump. In another odd coincidence, just 10 days after Donald Trump was elected in 2016, Elaine Chao's sister, Angela, was appointed to another board of directors, the Communist Chinese government's Bank of China. What's interesting is that Angela Chao also had a strange and suspicious marriage to a guy named Bruce Wasserstein back in 2008-2009, and just about a year after they get married, he dies mysteriously of a heart attack. So there's a lot of mysterious deaths going on, and I believe that she came into billions of dollars with that sudden passing and becoming that guy's widow. So there's just a lot of strange things happening. So who knows if the suspicious death now of Angela Chao's sister has anything to do with McConnell's sudden retirement afterward, but it bears watching, and that leads us into international news. In keeping with the Chinese theme, here's a story entitled, Gavin Newsome partnered with Triad-linked businessman on an initiative that brought Chinese mafia-linked businesses to California. Governor Gavin Newsome partnered with a Chinese Communist Party-tied businessman allegedly connected to Triads on an endeavor that brought Chinese mafia-linked businesses to California's Bay Area when Newsome served as San Francisco mayor. Peter Schweitzer revealed in his new book, Blood Money, Why the Powerful Turn a Blind Eye While China Kills Americans. Schweitzer reveals in Blood Money that Newsome has had links to Chinese organized crime through his connections to known Triad members, and that these connections go beyond the China SF initiative that Newsome launched in 2008 to bring Chinese businesses to San Francisco. Schweitzer also argues that Newsome has skirted addressing China's role in the fentanyl trade that has killed so many Californians. Schweitzer, a New York Times best-selling author whose investigative work has led to bombshell revelations of corruption among America's elite, highlights Newsome's relationship with Chinese businessman Vincent Lo, who served as the co-chairman of China SF and the president of the Council for the Promotion and Development of Yangtze. Schweitzer describes China SF as an ambitious effort to make the Bay Area the premier U.S. gateway for Chinese companies expanding into the North American market. Schweitzer writes in Blood Money, China SF was highly favorable to the Chinese entities involved. Any investment they made in an American company would grant them intellectual property rights in China for the technology developed. It would involve U.S. companies handing over their secret formulas. But many of the Chinese companies and businessmen that were involved in China SF and benefited from the program had ties to Chinese organized crime. Newsome. Talk about a Manchurian candidate. The Chinese Communist Party would love to bankroll his candidacy for the presidency. What was once the stuff of far-fetched Hollywood films back in the 60s is now the reality of our political system. If you find that fiction turning into fact is weird, then that's all right, because it provides the segue to our News of the Weird segment. Did Bigfoot make an appearance in New York State recently? A woman in New York State suspects that a Sasquatch may have been on her property after something in the woods frightened her dog, and then some sizable prints were subsequently discovered in the snow. The intriguing incident, which was shared on the Bigfoot Researchers of the Hudson Valley Facebook page, occurred earlier this month in the community of Carmel when the witness went to take her German Shepherd for a walk. Their normally routine nightly stroll took a strange turn when the pet pooch suddenly froze and tucked its tail between his legs and started whining, and indicating that it wanted to go back inside their house. The dog's peculiar behavior was made all the more unsettling by the sound of branches breaking in the nearby forest, which unnerved the woman enough to cut the walk short that night. Curious as to what may have caused the weird episode, the witness returned to the area the next day and was shocked to see large human-like tracks going through her backyard. Fortunately, the woman managed to snap some pictures of the prints, which can be seen here. Response to her story has been largely mixed, with some suggesting that she narrowly missed an encounter with Sasquatch, while more skeptical observers argue that the tracks were probably created by a bear. Given the fact that the tracks were found in the snow, wouldn't it make more sense to cast the Yeti as the main suspect? Abominable. But speaking of abominable things happening, that leads us into our Obituary segment. Iris Apfel, influential fashion icon, dies at 102. Iris Apfel, the influential fashion icon and interior decorator who helped restore the White House for 9 presidents, died Friday at the age of 102. Talent agent Lori Sale confirmed her death. Apfel died at home in Palm Beach, she said. Apfel's Instagram account posted an image of a stunningly dressed Apfel and the words August 29, 1921 to March 1, 2024. In 2018, at age 96, Apfel appeared on Today to talk about recent trends and what constitutes style. She was interviewed at Bergdorf Goodman in New York City. She called ripped denim insanity and criticized those who wear athletic clothes for everyday activities, saying, "Athletic wear should be worn at the gym." She said those with style are expressive and self-aware. Well, hats off to making it to 102. It would have been interesting to see the fashionista meet the Grim Reaper and to see her offer to set him up with a killer new wardrobe. At any rate, I'd like to thank you for watching the show, or as I like to call it, that suspicious gap in my resume. See you next time. Consider subscribing to my new podcast, Classic Paranormal. It's a clearinghouse for lost real-life accounts of true ghost stories. It's found on Apple Podcasts. Go there now if you're interested in enigmatic tales, chilling true accounts, chronicles from cases of the past that time has forgotten, but that the modern person who likes relaxing by a campfire swapping ghost stories might appreciate. As I said, the new podcast I'm launching is available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and there's a link in the description below on this video.